important issue.
The member for Mildura.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. My report today is the Integrity and Oversight Committee's report on the operation of the Freedom of Information Act 1982. This was tabled out of session in September, and it was a pleasure to work on this along with the other committee members, of course, of the Integrity and Oversight Committee. So I'm more than happy to speak to it today. If you, and I'm sure many members in this place, have had dealings with the Freedom of Information process in this state, and if you have, you would understand that it is essentially broken. And I think the biggest thing to come out of this report is the need, among the 100 recommendations that were made in the report, the biggest thing to come out of it is that it needs a complete overhaul, given that the Act is 40 years old and hasn't had significant reform since then. A new generation of Freedom of Information Act is well and truly needed, given that in 1984, we were probably using a Commodore 64 computer, if you were lucky to be able to access one, or an Apple IIe. So there's no real provision in the Act. There's a lot of terminology such as documents, but we know now that if you are trying to FOI certain things, it may not be documents, it may be all sorts of things that have evolved over the last 40 years. It was very interesting. We heard also about the culture of FOI in this state. Now, Victoria has more Freedom of Information requests than any other state in this country, and that's largely because of the age of this Act. Queensland and New South Wales, we heard from a lot of other jurisdictions during the process, they are up to their third generation push model of information. So that was, again, the number one recommendation, that it needs a complete overhaul, it needs complete reform, moving to that third generation push model and a right of information Act. But we did receive 69 submissions. We held 6 days of hearings and a total of 101 recommendations to improve and modernise Victoria's FOI system and fix that culture issue that we kept hearing over and over again. And again, if you've had any dealings with the FOI system, whether it's been through trying to obtain medical documents, which is a lot of what we'd heard, a lot of these FOI requests could be negated if it was a push model, because the bulk of those requests are requesting information about self, or with regard to medical records, etc. It's people looking for information on themselves. It was interesting to note, though, we'd also heard from many agencies and also local governments, and it was a surprise to me, given my background in local government, that some didn't quite get why there would be requests or FOI requests made to local government. And I can tell you, and there's been a lot of chat about local governments and councils already this morning, there can be, in my time in council, the requests for information that couldn't be released, or if it was incredibly redacted, but people will spend time and money, because there are application fees associated with FOI requests. People will spend time and money requesting all sorts of things. So there's recommendations around that. Another recommendation was the removal of application fees when seeking information about oneself. However, changing to a third generation push model and pushing out all of the information that is largely requested anyway, will then reduce the volume of FOI requests made each and every year. So that's got to be a good thing, and hopefully that will help negate those extraordinarily long delays, the high fees. Public records too, some of them are not in a great state, and as we digitise, hopefully that will get better. But again, these sorts of acts, freedom of information is vital, that it is modernised, given that it is 40 years old. There was a few other key recommendations that I did want to talk about, but given I've got 12 seconds, I will just brush over number 11, which is the limited internal information exception, and that's the freedom of information.
Member for